This show is sponsored by Mighty Capital, the go-to venture capital firm for product-first companies like Airbnb and Amplitude. Learn why they are dubbed the best value for the dollar invested at mighty.capital. I'm SC Moadi, founder and chair of Products That Count, a 501c3 nonprofit engaging over 500,000 product managers. Our mission is simple: help you build great products through groundbreaking research, prestigious awards, and top-notch programming like this award-winning Top 1% podcast. Whether you're aiming to boost your career or turn your product team into a competitive advantage, this is your gateway. Visit productsthatcount.org and begin your product leadership journey. This particular series is hosted by one of the first chief product officers in the world, Renee Niemi, and each episode is a masterclass in product leadership. Renee, over to you.
Hello. Today I have with me Ritu Bhargava. She is the president and chief product officer of customer experience and CRM at SAP. So first of all, just want to say welcome. Really been looking forward to meeting you, Ritu, and congratulations on being a finalist for one of the best chief product officers in the world.
Thank you so much.
It's so great to have you here. I have a whole bunch of questions, really want to get under the covers and get to know you a little bit better today. But before we dive in, why don't we just start by learning a little bit more about your career, the role you play at SAP, and the products that you deliver?
Yeah. So I can go on about myself, which I'm not going to do. So I'm based in San Francisco. I work for a company called SAP. If you have not heard of it, and if you say SAP, please do not say that. It's SAP. It's a global company, and my role here is president and chief product officer of the CRM or CX business and also the industry's portfolio. So it's a little bit of a T-shaped role. And in my role, I'm responsible for product strategy, product development, product management, UX, security, DevOps, the entire shebang of that portfolio. But also as a GM, I'm also responsible for the business. So the alignment with the go-to-market and marketing, and really thinking of this as a holistic product strategy that transcends not just what we develop, but also what we deliver. So it's an exciting role. It's my teams are spread across 70 countries. And the first day I joined, I asked my HR person, "Hey, how many locations is my team in?" And she did not give me an answer. And I thought, what an incompetent person. And then she sends me a spreadsheet. And that's when I realized, the questions you do not ask during the interview process.
Note to self for all of those aspiring to be a chief product officer at a large enterprise, make sure you ask how spread out your team is. So 70
locations, and some of them I couldn't even pronounce. And finally I did, because I visited, and they definitely taught me the language nuances. And so it's a global role. I travel a lot, but I'm learning a lot, and it's just really, really exciting.
Wow. Well, congratulations. That sounds amazing. I just have to ask, how big is your team if it's spread across 70 locations?
Yeah, I'm not counting, but I think might be like 6,000 people.
Wow. That's a lot of responsibility.
It is, but if you have the right team and you have, you hire right, and you train and you empower, I think it's not really the size, but it's more about the quantity and the quality. Sorry, it's less about the quantity and more about the quality of really the people you work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, fantastic. I would thank you for sharing that, and it gives us a really great, kind of platform to start to dive in, because I really want to understand your path to success and how did you get into this major role that you should be very, very proud of. I know for me, there's a lot of people influence my journey. Some Some of them I knew, and ironically, some of them I didn't know. Some of them I may have been related to. So, what was your story? Like, who is the one? And if there was more than one, who influenced your journey?
I if you asked me this 3 years ago, I wouldn't be able to tell you that this is where I'm going to be. And it's not linear, and no one's journey is linear. And when I started as a developer, and I grew through every rank that is possible. First at Oracle, then at Salesforce, and now at SAP. And I have gone through the ranks, and I've not had a jump that would just get me there. But this job that I have, when this came by to me, I was just, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to come to this company. And I was happy. I was at Salesforce. It was great. I was head of engineering for one of the flagship products there. But just the opportunity and the scale of where I am, it just took it to the next level for me. And for me, it's more about what do I get to learn, and how much do I get to expand. And if it doesn't scare me a little bit, then I'm not stretching myself. And this gave me the wings to stretch myself. And as I was, as I think about this and this question, a few years ago, I have a mentor. I have a tribe of mentors. I have many mentors,
That
not
doesn't
just one
surprise me,
person.
by the way.
Yeah, yeah. And I talk to people. I learn from them. I learn by listening and doing, more doing. And this person, this mentor, I've had for, I would say, 15 years, and he saw me through senior manager and director and my job at Salesforce when I was still at Oracle. And he told me, you could be a CEO of a company any day. And I laughed so hard. I laughed so hard
Why?
because this is, and you're in hardcore like a function product or engineering. That's not what you envision yourself. You're like a VP level. You don't really see yourself necessarily, but it's important to see what others are also seeing and what they're telling you, and not just being tunnel visioned about where you're operating, but really thinking of what possibly can happen and what can exist. And so for me, I think a lot of it has been taking that feedback, absorbing it, incorporating it, and then being able to really live it. So it's,
Yeah.
for me, it's just fascinating to see where I am, and I'm just a product of my work and taking that feedback and just executing one step at a time.
Interesting. So do you then think it was this one mentor who said that you believe has allowed you or opened your mind to making this last step?
No, no, he said it. He was the first to have said it. And then this other guy that I work with, who's actually my coach, for my communications coach. I have so many people, as I said. And this guy said the same thing after 6 months. And that made me really pause. And then there was this CEO who used to work with me, and I talked to him, and he's like, "You have an opinion. You have an opinion about product. You talk about things with conviction, and you understand it may not be right, it may not be wrong. That's not the point. But you have the potential to be a CPO." And I was like, wait a minute, I'm missing something now, because three totally different people are telling me this. They're not invested in my career on a day-to-day basis. They're just telling me as I'm talking, and they saw something that I didn't. So,
Yeah.
but definitely this one guy, and then all of this tribe of mentors, as I call them, is just fantastic for me.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Well, sometimes the role of your mentors, or, even your vendors in some cases, their job is to put the mirror in front of your face and say, hey, look at you. Sometimes you see you as you were and not as you are.
Yeah.
So it's just a really good lesson to learn.
And we remain so caught up in that box and how we have boxed ourselves. And it's really funny, and I mentor so many people now. And for me, I just tell them that don't think of your now as your future, or even your next step as your future. And it's okay. And I tell this to myself every day, it's okay, but what you're learning and what you're doing will set you up for success. At least do your 100% in what you're doing right now, because you still have an opportunity at hand.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, obviously, what I find interesting about your story is on a relative scale. I mean, your last job, you were leading a large technical organization, and now you're president, and you have much more than just technical talent reporting to you. So obviously, there was some growth there. There's some learning there. Like, how do you learn and grow? Like, what is your secret sauce for doing that?
Yeah. A lot of it is, different people learn in different ways. The way you learn and the way I learn is complete, and we have to realize that. And how I absorb information is different. And I'm a product of doing. I'm a doer, and we talked about this. I'm a practitioner
Yeah.
at the heart of how I just do things. And it has always been the case. When I was doing my graduation, I had a startup of my own, because and what I was in a very good college in India, one of the premier colleges, and I had zero interest in classes, and and I was like missing classes to do my startup. And as I was learning from my startup and my mistakes of not having a business plan, and running the startup to the ground in 2 years on borrowed money from my dad, was perhaps one of the biggest lessons that then I took over and over again, to know it's like, this is what you learned, Ritu, like you need to have a plan. And so I learn by doing. I'm also a learner by listening now. I read a lot, because when I took this job, the one thing I told myself, I'm not going to make this like my previous company or my previous product. This is SAP, Salesforce or Salesforce, right? And they have different strengths, and every company, every product has a strength of their own. You don't want to be a me too. You want to be uniquely you. And there is something uniquely us at SAP, as there is for other companies in the world. So why should I not expand my horizon to really unlearn and relearn some of those things? So I read a lot, but for me, taking that and really incorporating it and getting the feedback really, really quickly is extremely important. Um, you know, you think about strategy, right? Strategy is such a thing that, it's so intangible. And so what I did the first year I was here at SAP, I went and talked to about 100 customers personally, one on one. And what I did was I had this articulation of a strategy that, it's going to be, this is what it's going to be. And I pitched it to the first customer, got feedback. And I pitched it to the second customer and got feedback. And I rinsed and repeated it for 100 times over in a one-to-one setting. And guess what? It got really good. And
Yeah.
then I started many to many in a bigger audience. And I go into a stage and I present that, like, wait a minute, that resonated with all of us. And then I could give it to my team, and it resonated with my team and the people they were presenting it to. And it's an abstract form of strategy, but you can, since I'm a doer, I didn't just read the books, I read the books, but I also did it. And I did it over and over again. And I learned through that, and I honed my craft as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that trial by fire almost attitude, where you just kind of dive in, and it's almost strategy by agile strategy a little bit too,
Yeah.
when you think about it, right? That's a really interesting way to do that. Now, when you're guiding, you said you mentor a lot. When you're guiding others, like, how do you guide others to grow and learn?
Yeah. Yeah. So, for example, my team is, they can listen to my strategy, or I can my lived values and my lived experiences translate to how I act and how I direct. And so for them, it's a simple thing like, don't show me a presentation, show me a product demo. Let's talk about product. Walk me through the product. I'll give you my feedback and you can tell me what was done, what was not done, what's on the roadmap. And hey, for this other thing that you want, I need this much investment. Let's talk through it. And that makes it much more tangible for me to take it in and see it into action. And for them, it's like, wait a minute, she's not going to go into a presentation, but she's actually looking for output. She's looking for what's really real, what's going to be delivered, and what is that feedback that came from customers. So it also then gives them a really meaningful way of doing what they're doing and getting the feedback in real time and making them learn the craft of talking product and building product and taking pride in your product, which I'm deeply passionate about, if you cannot see it right now. And so for me, it's, what I do is what I teach and what I mentor. And as I mentor people, I tell them, you're now in the product you're working on now, or the project that you're working on now is the ground for you to prove yourself. It doesn't matter. It's a small area, it's a big area, it's a subset of a product, it's an entire product, it's a suite of products. It's This is where you get to do, it's like the power of karma. This is your battleground.
Yeah. So what I heard is you encourage them to learn by doing.
Yep. And I incentivize that. You show me a demo, they know that any meeting with Ritu, you show her a demo, you have won her. And so now they know.
Yeah. Well, there's something powerful about the demo. You have to be able to articulate. You actually have to understand who your audience is. You actually have to, I know this sounds counterintuitive, but you actually have to know your product.
Right.
It's just so strange that I even have to say that, but it's true. And especially when you're talking about deeply technical, rich enterprise software products, this is especially true.
And actually, it's true for every product, I would say. Can you, even if it is like a consumer product, and you should be able to go, even it's on your phone, and just, simple things like, I can absolutely geek out, and I'm wearing this Aura ring. I absolutely geek out on their app, such that I treat that as my demos. Like, I can sell this ring better than Aura right now.
I love that. By the way, I'm seeing that ring in more and more fingers, so Aura must be doing something right.
Their app and the data, it's all data for me. And I'm a data geek, and I think they've definitely honed into, this whole notion of how people who are into any kind of fitness also like to gamify and see how the data can light up uh, your activity. So it's for me, it's real feedback. Like right now, if I pulled it up, wait a minute, is my stress level low, or am I engaged, or am I actually in a restored space? It's like, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, interesting. I might have to go get one of those. Anyways, we're off topic.
Yeah, I told you.
Product people will be product people, right?
It took me a minute to sell you that product.
All right. Well, listen, you develop superpowers. I guarantee you, I could probably even almost imagine what some of your superpowers are. But what would you say is your secret sauce / superpower as a chief product officer? What makes you stand out?
I'm decisive. And you
Decisive
know what?
about what kinds of things?
Yeah. So, no is a complete sentence. And so a lot of my decisiveness in the world where technology is moving and rapidly evolving so fast, and constraints on resources are so much, and we have to keep up with, God knows, like, rapid announcements, AI being one of them, and we of course will talk about that, I'm sure, is how do you prioritize? And if you have to prioritize, you have to start with a no. before a yes. In my opinion, you have to start with a no before a yes. What do you stop and clear out and stall or pause to make room for being able to innovate faster or redirect people or thoughts or strategies to the next? And it doesn't have to be the next, it could be the present, and it could be table stakes stuff. And so for me, saying no, and that's one of the biggest things. People ask me, what have you done the most after, in your recent past? And I'm like, I've said no to customers, to stakeholders, to peers, to employees, to, the CEO. And it takes courage at every level, because you know what? Yes is an easy answer. And it's the path of least resistance. You say yes, you can get out of it. In any relationship, leave alone a business relationship or a product setup, and you say no to a roadmap item, or you say no to not releasing this right now, or you say no to a customer request because, hey, it's nothing to do with your roadmap. It requires a lot of a conviction and knowing your product, having a plan. And but sometimes, you know what, saying no, I'm going to say no to back up my team and clear the path for them to be able to do what they're doing, and provide that air cover. So that's, I think that would be a big one, which then translates to a lot of, I deeply care about my products. I have a lot of fire for my products, but then the decisiveness helps clearing the way, not just for innovation, but also for my team to have the room to do what they want. And for actually people respect that at some point. They may not like it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. And I've often been quoted as saying that your easiest decisions are yes, your hardest decisions are no. And I 150% agree with your point, because it may be easier in the moment to say yes. It is not easier in the long term. And you're saying yes at the cost of something. So by saying yes, you're, whether it's conscious or not conscious, you're actually saying no to something, whether or not you actually say it.
Yeah. And the natural instinct is to please
Yeah.
and appease and fall in line. But of course, it's also a healthy balance of not just saying no because, hey, I want to send a signal. It has to be well informed. But sometimes it cannot be well informed too, and it's okay, because a lot of, as you go more senior, sometimes your gut instincts also do play a part in it. And that's also fine. And that's where decision making has consequences. And that's fine. I can take the consequences, but I will make a decision. And a lot of organizations fail because leaders do not want to make decisions because they fear retaliation, or they fear, annoying some people or making some people happy. You cannot keep everyone happy all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good for you for being the brave one, that can actually deliver difficult news. That's a really important superpower. You mentioned that sometimes you have to deliver difficult news to customers, and maybe it's not the customers themselves you're delivering it to, maybe it's through sales. But you also mentioned that you spent, your first year visiting with 100 customers. So I already have a sense that your relationship with the customer is special. But can you tell me a little bit more on how you view the voice of the customer, and what role that plays, in yours and your team's success?
Yeah. And it was, 100 give or take, but it's continuous. I have a very customer facing role. My teams have customer facing roles, and those relationships are complicated, based on the product, based on the location. And, it just has opened my eyes with a global team and a global company. It's heavily nuanced as to how much culture also comes into play. But, I have relationships with customers where I'm a punching bag, relationships where I'm a friend, I'm a trusted advisor, Sometimes, in fact, I'm also an object of the reflection. You know, it could be.
Oh,
Wow, it is like it's complicated, but for me, the role really is: can I be that trusted advisor? Where even if they don't want to buy my product, I will still be the first person they'll call to ask, Ritu, is this a good decision? And as soon as I get that call, I know I've won. Because I've not just won them over, I've won the hearts and minds that they trust that I will give them that advice. Because a lot of enterprise software and even like big company software is not about a year or 2 years or 5 years. I sometimes have customers who talk to me about 15 years ahead.
wow.
And when they talk about 15 years ahead in this world where it's changing week by week right now, what AI did, like just last week's announcements, is just crazy,
Yeah.
right? And we can't keep up. And yet our customers, my customers, are asking me to tell me what will happen 15 years from now. How do I think about this landscape 15 years from now? And I need to have that conversation with them in a way that is a transparent, honest conversation. And I still remember, it was like last year, I was in a customer meeting, and this customer is like, oh, we need this feature set, and we've been asking for it. And I was talking to, actually, my it was not from me, it was from a peer organization of mine. And I was actually talking to that peer organization CPO earlier that morning and texting with him. And all I did was I pulled up my phone and I said, hey, actually, I was talking to him this morning, and the customer sitting next to me, like, see, we just texted about it and talked about it. And so I'm not, this is really top of mind for me. We ended the conversation, and later on, the account team comes to me. Like, that was such a trust building conversation. Why was that? You just picked up your phone and you showed them a text. And it just made it so real and authentic and personable and approachable. And you were not bullshitting, pardon my language. And so I think for me, the relationships are, as you can see, everything for me is just deeply passionate about it. But I also deeply care about the enterprise industry, the software industry, the small industry. You will find them over and over again. The customers don't really go anywhere. And so my brand is to lead with honesty and truth and integrity on how I really conduct the business, not just because I want to sell my business and my product. I,
Yeah.
I, I love my customers. It's a very mutual win-win relationship.
Which, by the way, getting back to that saying no, if you have that trusted relationship and rapport, when you say no, they're going to understand.
Mhm.
They're going to trust you enough to know that you've given it the considered thought, and it is no is the best path forward. So,
Yeah. And you
um,
have then the space to provide the context of saying no. Because if you just, otherwise it looks like an excuse.
right,
And excuses are not something that will win your hearts and minds, but a relationship with context and built upon honesty and trust, and that mutually beneficial. It's still transactional, don't get me wrong. I'm not best friends with them.
right.
But yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So, kind of sticking with the theme here, if you've got this great relationship with the customer, you're decisive as your superpower. I love that you can say no, but what is your process for saying yes? And how do you identify and think about both the short term and the midterm and the long term as you prioritize new product opportunities?
Yeah. Uh, I was talking about this to someone earlier today. I don't know if you've read this book called Zone to Win.
No, I
It's
haven't.
by Jeffrey Moore, and it talks about the four core. It's a framework. There are a lot of frameworks that exist today, but I think of it, and I'll speak in the context of enterprise software because I've kind of done most of that in my career, and I think of it as there will be some areas that will be performance and ongoing revenue coming through and adoption and easy, like just table stakes, like for SAP, we have ERP, we have You have RCX business or the HCM business or the business network or spend, and a bunch of the products in this will just sell. You keep on doing what you're doing. It's good. It's good enough. It'll happen. It's just the kibble will keep on coming in. But then, as you really think of how do you have some of the innovation and some of the disruption happening, how do you infuse that? Because some of those streams will not open up in year one, but you need to start innovating, and AI being something right now that a lot of people are saying, yes, we need to jump on the bandwagon. But guess what? AI is not new, and we've been talking about it and it's been there for 10 years, and suddenly it became real for a lot of consumers and people who do not understand technology. And suddenly that's why it's mainstream suddenly. But in technology, people who have been doing some of that, didn't just materialize. And similarly, with newer stuff, you have to incubate and you have to really bring in some of that disruption streams as well. And so as I think about all of this, so this one is this framework. The second is data, really understanding the market, your ID, your ICP, the ideal customer profile. And then, and I said this earlier, understanding your business. Every business and every big company has their own unique ICP, their own market, and their own segment, and what they are good at. And we can try to be A, B, C, but first you have to be the company that you are good at. And I say this even for people. Your super strength is your own unique super strength. You don't want to be someone else. You want to be you. And you have to really capitalize on your strengths and neutralize your weaknesses. Similarly, in products, you double down on your strengths. If, like for SAP, we know industry, we know global processes, we understand the complex. And if we do that, no one can touch us in the complex, in the global business processes, end-to-end processes, really understanding global requirements at scale. If that is really our strength, let's go strength to strength and have everything with that strength rather than trying to oppose it.
Right.
And so as I think about investments, it's data, but it's also the business. And then coupled with just innovation and how you really think of the first year, second year, 5 years ahead. I don't think I'm really thinking 10 years ahead right now, given where it is. But in product, you have to remain agile enough to build the foundation of technology that doesn't, you're not making shortcuts on that either.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, it's complex, but I love the way that you simplify it into a couple of just kind of core principles. And as long as you stay in those lanes and decide, or if you decide, I know that is interesting. When I was a chief product officer, I did something very similar. I had a different framework for it, quote unquote, but same, very similar. And when anybody would go off of one of those trains, we would have a really deep and meaningful conversation.
Yeah.
Like, are you intentionally going off this train? Why are you intentionally going off this train? And have you thought about the size of the investment in context to not just how much does it take to develop this product, but the rest of the impact to the business?
Yeah.
And it's just really interesting.
And it's important to remain focused in all of this. I remind my teams every single day, what will you be proud of that you delivered this year? Tell me now. Like, give me something now and this year, and then we can talk about next year. So you still that hyper focus on, what you're putting out there, and you can ideate for the longest period of times, but technology is moving too fast for us to wait. It's too fast.
Yeah, it's so true. So true. Listen, I could sit here and chit chat with you forever. It's been so much fun, but unfortunately we don't have forever. So I have to move to my very last question, which is, drumroll please, cannot have a conversation without a product leader without at least saying AI once.
Well, I I think I might have already gone there.
Yes, I think you may have already gone there. My question specifically is the role of product management and how AI will impact the role both in the short and long term. What's your view?
Yeah, it's if you ask me what will happen 3 years from now, 5 years from now, I really wouldn't be able to tell you. It's changing so fast. But the guidance that I give my team, and especially in this role, is we have to get the foundations right. Have the product that that you are strong in, the core of it. AI, there's a disruption that's happening in the technology of AI, and all the things that are changing super quickly, super fast. It's just amazing as to how much, with just, I don't know if you saw the OpenAI demos last week, and with Google I/O, and even X.ai, and this is just last week, right?
Right.
But the application, I'm in the business of applications, right? And business applications. So applicability of all of that in the context of the user, of the business user and their customers, for me is extremely important, because you don't want to just overlay and force AI on top of your products because, hey, you want to just do it because it's cool. Sure, you can still do it, writing an email summary, or asking for the closest connection, or asking, hey, manually capture notes to automatically capture notes. Like, now that has become the given, the table stakes. It's great. But the nuanced aspects of what really happens in, it's not just making me more productive, but can I do more of the nuanced aspects of selling, or of product creation, content creation? That is not, you can easily feed things into chat GPT. Will tell you, oh, this, I've seen this before. you know and so they're there. But for me also, as we build that, the integrity and the ethics and the responsibility of AI, for me, the security of all of that, to the extent, when does it not become creepy, or if I may say, like, flirtatious,
Yep.
with uh, and so that all coming into the product with the relevance and the context, data. And so in all of that, what I would say is AI is only as powerful as the data. And I'm, for those of you listening, this is not news to you, but companies that have data, companies that can get the data, companies that can govern and process, orchestrate that data, and really then take it in a meaningful way in the business context to the end user, to the user's user, for example. That's where the difference and the magic will happen, in the workflow of the user, and not just overlaid just because of. So I think AI has, it's going to be fascinating. We cannot overlook it. I'm not overlooking it, but I also am trying not to go overboard just because. And because if you go to the CIO, CTO, CDOs, they're asking about AI, but the first question is, so what? What will it do for me today that will really move the needle? And where will the friction go away from the usage? Because the people who are going to consume this don't really care about some of these things.
Right. Right. I love that quote. The when will the fiction go away? So do you think it's gonna make the product manager smarter, better, faster?
I think it. I think if you have to be relevant, you have to absolutely keep an eye on what it can do. Also, it requires a lot of unlearning, because the workflow or the way that your software may have been interacting till now may not be how it does. Is in a world where we're even talking about a computerless audio computers, right? And there's no form factor that you can interface with. Suddenly, the treatment of even UI and AI together is a different nuance than what you hear and what you won't be able to see. And so, how, reimagining, you don't have to go overboard with it, but reimagining what would it be like if this, all the constructs we knew of a product did not exist. It's a good chat. You should challenge yourself. I challenge myself every day. It's like, what if I didn't have this computer right now? Would I do my business with the AirPod that was a computer? And it's there. It's, there's a product now available for it. So very initial, but this is the art of the possible there. And for product managers, it's a very hard job. It's a extremely hard job, because there's so much. There's no such, in my opinion, outbound, inbound product marketing. Everything is product management. It's one job. So you look at the outside, you look at the inside, you look at the technology, understand the technology, articulate all of that. It can be very interesting, but you have to stay relevant. So you have to learn and question.
Yeah, I love that. Well, it's a great spot to end our conversation. Ritu, I just wanted to say thank you. This has been a lot of fun. Again, congratulations. I hope that this isn't the last time we chat, because I have a feeling there's a lot more to talk about.
Thank you so much for your time.
This is SC Moadi again, founder and chair of Products That Count. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you like what you heard, be sure to leave us a review on your favorite platform, including Spotify and Apple. And please check out our other resources at productsthatcount.org. They're designed to accelerate your product career and make product the most important function in business. Until soon.